Have you heard of the largest freshwater island in the world? A ferry called CHI-CHEEMAUN is one way to get there. The day begins on the road to Tobermory, before the ferry terminal has properly woken up. After boarding CHI-CHEEMAUN, we explore her passenger spaces and cross Lake Huron to Manitoulin Island. The ferry, however, is only half the plan. Beyond South Baymouth, the road leads into the island's quiet and rather beautiful landscape. At the Cup and Saucer Trail, the journey continues on foot, where forest, rock and open views give Manitoulin an entirely different rhythm. The ferry schedule has its own ideas about how much island fits into one day. By afternoon, the same ship takes us back to Tobermory. For those who prefer the crossing completely pure, the full version is available in the Just Ferries members area, along with some extra shots and details. After the short intro, the journey begins. Another day in paradise, at least for ferry enthusiasts. It is 6:45 on June 3rd, 2026. Today there is a particularly good reason to be awake this early. The ferry CHI-CHEEMAUN. CHI-CHEEMAUN has served these waters since 1974. Her name is Ojibwe for big canoe. Ojibwe is an indigenous language spoken across parts of Canada and the United States. I have arrived far earlier than necessary. The required check-in time is still some way off, but that is rather the point. The empty lanes and the stillness around Tobermory are worth arriving early for. Check-in must be completed no later than 1 hour before sailing. I booked online. My off-peak booking for one car and one adult costs $56 Canadian and 80 cents. Tobermory has two natural harbours known as Big Tub and Little Tub. The ferry terminal sits beside Little Tub, the smaller of the two. Regular service to Manitoulin dates back to the early 1930s. Long before the ferries, Tobermory grew around lumber and later fishing. The Niagara Escarpment seems to end here, but only from the surface. It continues beneath Lake Huron and rises again on Manitoulin Island. Our crossing follows that submerged connection remarkably closely. The terminal is divided into two separate areas, some distance apart. Vehicles first wait in long holding lanes beside Highway 6, well back from the waterfront. Later, traffic moves into a much wider staging area near the dock. There, parallel lanes spread out toward the ferry berth. Arrive first with a reservation and lane 1 on the far left is yours, pole position. Tobermory's ferry terminal is clean, orderly and maintained with almost suspicious attention. The flower beds show more discipline than my own garden has ever managed. Beside the benches, display panels explain the local history and the ferry service. I find the whole place genuinely wonderful. Ferry terminals are not usually designed to be enjoyed. Tobermory's ferry terminal includes a dedicated passenger building. It provides restrooms and seating for those waiting to board. CHI-CHEEMAUN makes her first appearance here in miniature. The large model gives a detailed preview before boarding begins. Beside it stands a Canada Post mailbox. For some passengers, the journey ends here. The postcards, apparently better organized, continue without them. And here she is, the ship I have waited so long to meet, the ferry CHI-CHEEMAUN. At At 111 meters, she is one of the largest vessels of her kind on the Great Lakes. The story of CHI-CHEEMAUN did not begin with a drawing on a naval architect's desk. It began with long lines of cars waiting at the ferry terminals in Tobermory and South Baymouth. Until the early 1970s, the route across Lake Huron and Georgian Bay was mainly served by the older vessels Norisel and Norgoma. Loading was slow and labor-intensive. Crew members sometimes had to drive passengers' vehicles aboard and then hand them back to their owners at the other end. Loading and unloading alone could take about an hour. Ontario therefore decided to replace them with a much larger and more efficient ferry. The province acquired the Owen Sound Transportation Company and financed the ambitious project. Collingwood Shipyard won the fiercely contested contract and built her as hull number 205. The order secured more than a year of work for the struggling shipyard. At peak construction, the project supported employment for around 1,000 people. Both ferry terminals also required major reconstruction for the new vessel. New docks were built, while channels were widened and deepened for safe access. CHI-CHEEMAUN was finally christened at Collingwood on June 15, 1974. Around 3,000 people attended, while a special train brought guests from Toronto. Her first passenger crossing followed on September 29th, carrying 140 passengers and 60 vehicles. 14-foot waves immediately provided a demanding introduction to service on Georgian Bay. Over the following decades, CHI-CHEEMAUN became part of holidays and family traditions. She carried weddings, anniversaries, final journeys, and generations of summer travelers. After half a century, she remained inseparable from this historic route. And now, it is finally time to board CHI-CHEEMAUN. Coming all the way from Germany suggests either admirable commitment or a condition not yet formally diagnosed. Would you honestly guess that this vehicle deck has been in use since 1974? 51 years of salt-free service, and it shows. Down here, she looks like a much younger ship. She can carry 638 passengers and roughly 140 to 150 vehicles. Once the car is parked, the road journey pauses for the next 2 hours. All passengers must leave the vehicle deck for the crossing. The walk toward the stairway offers one final chance to remember where the car is standing. CHI-CHEEMAUN carries her passengers across 3 decks above the vehicle deck. The cafeteria deck sits lowest, the lounge deck above it, and the open sun deck on top. The boutique store is devoted to the ship, the route, and this part of Ontario. Caps, postcards, mugs, magnets, fishing lures, stickers, shirts, and hoodies fill the shelves. Much of it carries the CHI-CHEEMAUN logo or the slogan, "Travel in good spirits." This is mainly a gift shop, but one with a very clear local identity. Anyone looking for something connected to the region should find it here. The difficult part is not choosing a souvenir, it is stopping afterwards. Farther forward, the dining room feels considerably more ambitious than the word cafeteria suggests. In 2016, the space underwent a $2.4 million Canadian dollar renovation. The new layout separated fine dining from general dining and added a bar. 7 lighting zones allow the room to change character throughout the day. Viewing windows continue throughout the dining area, keeping Lake Huron close while passengers eat. The cafeteria serves breakfast in the morning, followed by lunch and dinner. The published menu ranges from burgers and chicken to soups, salads, and fish and chips. On the lounge deck, a compact exhibition traces the history of the crossing. It is called Sail Through Time and was installed for the ship's 50th anniversary. Decades of ships, routes and local history are presented with obvious care. I am especially pleased to see the ferry Ninda Weimar included here. Built in Spain, she spent about 15 years in European service before coming to Ontario. Among the displays are portraits of CHI-CHEEMAUN's captains. I have spent more than 30 years at sea. I have never seen another operator honor its captains quite like this. Appreciation is discussed at considerable length in our industry. Putting it on the wall is apparently another matter. Forward on this deck is a lounge, with its own bar. There is a permanent performance area here and the schedule lists concerts and readings. None of that happens on the 8:50 departure in early June. At this hour, the room belongs to whoever wants a quiet seat by the window. Aft on the same deck is a second lounge without a bar. The space was rebuilt a few years ago, replacing video games with additional seating. It now hosts interpretive programs with Parks Canada and Wik-Wemikong Tourism. Wik-Wemikong Tourism offers cultural and nature experiences on Manitoulin Island. From here, passengers can step directly onto one of the aft open decks. I have a long-standing weakness for large open deck spaces, so this requires immediate investigation. CHI-CHEEMAUN gives passengers an unusually generous amount of open deck space. It is possible to walk forward beneath the bridge and stand directly above the bow door. This is one reason Tobermory became such a well-known diving town. The water here is cold, clean and exceptionally clear. Just beyond the harbour lies Fathom 5 National Marine Park. More than 20 historic shipwrecks rest beneath these waters. Some lie shallow enough for snorkelers and passengers aboard glass-bottom boats. CHI-CHEEMAUN and Tobermory are making an unusually convincing case for early mornings. Exactly 2 minutes before departure, the passenger gangway is withdrawn. That is the unmistakable sign that the waiting is nearly over. For a ferry enthusiast, few things improve the pulse quite so efficiently. As CHI-CHEEMAUN leaves Tobermory, I keep thinking about the unlikely story behind her name. Her name arrived by a route nobody planned. Donald Kishik was a member of the Chippewas of Nawash unceded First Nation. He told his children they could win 100 Canadian dollars by proposing CHI-CHEEMAUN. The children began the required essay, but none of them finished it. His daughter Lenore gathered their drafts and wrote the final version in her father's voice. She signed his name, addressed the envelope, added a stamp, and mailed it without telling him. When the winning call came, Donald thought it concerned a local 50-50 draw. Most family projects never leave the kitchen table. This one became a ferry. Off the port side, a stone tower stands on the northeast corner of Cove Island. Cove Island Light was first lit on the 30th of October 1858. It marks the channel between Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. The tower was the first of 6 imperial towers, all built in stone. Most lighthouses of that period were brick, wood, iron or concrete. These 6 were built to last. The original lens is still in the lantern, flashing white every 5 seconds. That is a level of reliability I can only admire from a respectful distance. For CHI-CHEEMAUN, this is the last mark before open water. Someone had to keep that lens burning. Jack Vaughan answered a newspaper advertisement for a lighthouse keeper in 1959. He was told the position would last about a year. It lasted 22. He finished as head keeper at Cove Island and left in 1991. He was the last lighthouse keeper on Georgian Bay. When he sent the master key back to the Coast Guard, they returned it to him. The light has run without anyone living beside it ever since. There is a second story about the name of the ferry, and it is considerably more bureaucratic. Shortly before CHI-CHEEMAUN entered service, her name briefly changed on paper. Temporary schedules arrived from the ministry spelling her name CHI-CHEEMAUN. When she entered service, CHI-CHEEMAUN was powered by 2 Ruston diesel engines. Each produced around 2,600 kilowatts. During the winter of 2006 and 2007, those engines were replaced. Today, she is powered by 4 Caterpillar diesel engines. Each produces around 1,900 kilowatts, giving a combined output of 7,600 kilowatts. Breakfast is still being served, so I'm going to test it. Experience has taught me that ferry cafeterias reward either speed or patience. Arrive when service begins or wait until the first rush has passed. Within minutes, even a quiet counter can acquire a respectable line. 2 hours is not long. A line can take a surprising share of it. The breakfast plate comes with eggs, sausage and potatoes. With a soft drink and chocolate milk, the bill is $16.10. The food is perfectly decent and nobody is pretending otherwise. What the kitchen cannot take credit for is the view beside the table. This may be the best restaurant on this part of Lake Huron. The competition admittedly is geographically limited. Almost 2 hours have passed and South Baymouth now lies ahead. Off the starboard side lies the eastern peninsula of Manitoulin Island. That land is Wikwemkong unceded territory. Wikwemkong refused to sign the 1862 treaty that surrendered most of Manitoulin Island. Today, it is recognized as Canada's only officially unceded territory. Here, the word unceded is not ceremonial. It describes land that was never surrendered by treaty. The South Baymouth Range front light marks the final approach into the harbour. A matching rear light stands farther inland, about 12 meters high. South Baymouth became an important Great Lakes fishing station during the 1880s. Its first public building was a church, completed in 1890. Several of the original fishermen's houses still survive today. The present ferry dock is the third built at South Baymouth. It opened in 1974 specifically for CHI-CHEEMAUN. The new berth was constructed east of the existing dock. Afterward, the approach channel was dredged for the larger ferry. The terminal building includes tourist information, public restrooms and Ontario Northland offices. It is time to return to the vehicle deck. This is not goodbye to CHI-CHEEMAUN because she will carry me back to Tobermory later today. So far, the day has been every bit as enjoyable as I had hoped. For now, however, the ferry gives way to Manitoulin Island. A short drive across the island comes next, followed by the Cup and Saucer Trail. CHI-CHEEMAUN keeps the return journey waiting in the background. Let us follow Highway 6 north. Manitoulin begins introducing its history almost immediately. On my left, beside the ferry terminal, is the little schoolhouse and museum. Its exhibits cover Tecuma Township and Michaels Bay, one of Ontario's ghost towns. They also trace South Baymouth's development from fishing station to tourist destination and ferry port. The museum complex includes one of the island's pioneer one-room schoolhouses. Manitoulin Island is far too large to be dealt with responsibly in one afternoon. The morning sailing arrives at 10:50 and the return leaves at 15:50. On paper, that gives me 5 hours. In practice, I need to be back at the terminal by 14:50. One destination therefore has to win. Today, it is the Cup and Saucer Trail on the Manitoulin extension of the Niagara Escarpment. Earlier this morning, that same escarpment disappeared beneath Lake Huron at Tobermory. Here it rises again into cliffs around 70 meters high. The rock beneath them is more than 400 million years old. The ferry crossed the gap. I am about to walk up the other side. Several parking areas surround the trailhead, making access pleasantly uncomplicated. This has little to do with ferries, but Canada's approach to nature sites deserves a brief detour. A single overview board explains the routes, and the signposts do the rest. Nothing here is overbuilt, and nothing is missing either. I have chosen the East Lookout, about 45 minutes on foot from the parking area. It offers a good impression of the landscape without consuming the entire afternoon. Several smaller viewpoints appear along the way before the route becomes noticeably more physical. There is a ladder, rough rock, and enough scrambling to keep both hands occupied. Eventually, the trail reaches the well-known East Lookout, around 311 meters above sea level. Manitoulin's highest point lies nearby, at roughly 352 meters. Under different circumstances, it would be difficult to resist. Today, however, the ferry timetable has voting rights. A good time management is essential unless I wish to watch CHI-CHEEMAUN leave without me. And almost too soon, I am back in South Baymouth. The rule from this morning now matters. Reservation holders must check in at the ticket booth at least 1 hour before sailing, or the reservation is void. I make it, but there is very little margin left. And there she is already. CHI-CHEEMAUN rounds the point exactly on schedule.
Passengers, report to your vehicles, and walk-on passengers, report to the passenger ramp and prepare to board the ship. Make sure your propane tanks are tagged and turned off. Your emergency brakes must be applied, or your wheels chalked upon boarding. Always be aware of moving vehicles. Please be advised that smoking or vaping is not permitted aboard the ship or on any Owen Sound transportation. The Owen Sound Transportation Company, an agency of the Government of Ontario, operates on the traditional lands and waters that are the center of all First Nations.
Boarding begins at 15:40, 10 minutes before departure. Comments beneath earlier videos have politely requested 3:40 p.m. instead. Not all of them were quite that polite. I cannot entirely escape my European habits. Still, the additional translation service is gladly included. For viewers in North America, boarding begins at 3:40 p.m. For Germans like me, it begins at 15:40. The vehicle holding area is already empty and loading was well organized and completed quickly. We are almost ready to sail. Judging by everything I have seen here today, we will depart exactly on time at 15:50. Pardon, 3:50 p.m. CHI-CHEEMAUN leaves South Baymouth exactly on time at 3:50 p.m. She was designed to reduce loading and unloading from about an hour to around 20 minutes. 51 years later, this turnaround still meets a target set before she existed. With Tobermory alongside again, it is time to draw a conclusion. This crossing works very well as the basis for a day trip to Manitoulin Island. On the 2026 off-peak timetable, the first morning sailing arrives at 10:50. The regular afternoon return leaves South Baymouth at 15:50 or 3:50 p.m. That schedule demands careful choices, but still allows a worthwhile island visit. On off-peak Fridays, an additional sailing leaves South Baymouth at 20:15 or 8:15 p.m. That provides considerably more time ashore. During peak season, 3 sailings leave each port every day. The same idea also works in reverse for travelers starting on Manitoulin Island. Tobermory and the Bruce Peninsula offer more than enough for a full day ashore. As for CHI-CHEEMAUN herself, she carries 51 years of service exceptionally well. A vehicle ferry of this size on fresh water is something I have never encountered in Europe. She was built for one job, and she is still doing it without visible effort. Loading takes minutes, the departure was on time, and nothing about the operation felt rushed. The crew is friendly and the same quiet competence continues ashore. What stayed with me was the care surrounding the ship as much as the ship herself. I had wanted to sail aboard CHI-CHEEMAUN for many years. Now that the journey is complete, I can say it was entirely worth the wait. I am now on my way to Toronto, where my flight departs tomorrow. Where it will take me, I will not reveal just yet. But my journey through Canada has only just begun. Until next time, thank you for joining me.